to show you how to take all this stuff apart right here. All right, so I've already took a couple of the bolts out, make it real quick and easy. So we'll see how she goes. All right, so you want to first off make sure your hub's in free. It's in lock. The spring's going to be all the way out. So it's going to try to push it out, get stuck. Where put it free, it comes off easy. So pull your Allen bolts out here. Now, if you're working on a completely stock roxor, you're not going to have a hub there, or an unlocking hub. You're just going to have a set hub. So, and at that point, you just pull these bolts out here. When you get that off, pull that out, and you see how the spring's sucked in? Now the spring would be all the way out here, extended out, if I wouldn't have locked it in. Set that to the side. Then you're going to grab your 14. And we're going to need a bar here. So, we'll take this bar, stick it in here, and bring her down the tire there. Should be good to go. Now these things are cranked out a little harder than normally would once you break it free. I got Loctite all over them. So I torqued all these on and went out wheeling after, I don't know, 6, 7 trips, 10 trips, something like that out. Had a bolt starting to back out. One of my buddies noticed. And I got down there and started messing with them. They're all loose. So I pulled them out, Loctited them all. Wasn't having that happen again. All right. Now before I get that hub all the way out of there, let me put this bolt back in. Just a little ways here. Alright, I got my breaker bar sitting on that hub. So, these things are all covered in Loctite too. So, oh, I already broke that free too. So that'll go easy. Crank that guy out. There's that. We'll get rid of this bar here. I'm going to pull this off. Now I take all these nuts because these nuts are a little bit smaller than the ones that go on here. So I drop all these in here, right in my holes, and I know those are for those. Set that to the side. Then you're going to get yourself, what do I do with my 14 here? 14. I'll take the rest of the hub off here. It actually ain't going to come off. We haven't took the lock ring off yet, or snap ring, whatever you want to call it. So, all those bolts are out. Then you have a snap ring inside here. And you just find the 2 little holes. Open her up. Pull it out. Drop that into your thing there. And I like to get a few tiles down so everything ain't getting all greasy. We're going to pull that guy out. Set her aside. Next, let's get the brakes off. So, get yourself a 19 millimeter. Let's start with the bottom bolt. I already broke these free too. They're pretty tight. You want to make sure your brake bolts are tight. Get it all the way tight, smack that wrench a couple times. So, at least they say you want them that tight. I've never had one loosen up on me in my life, but I guess anything could happen. Alright. Bottom bolt out. Look at that short little guy. Normally these ain't going to fall off on you either, so don't worry about losing it. Alright, part straight out my hand. Second bolt. Alright. Wiggle that guy off. And then this guy, you're gonna set over here out of your way. Something of that nature right there. But you don't want it to fall down. So we need to hook it on, make sure it ain't gonna fall down. So we'll take a couple little bungees and we'll put one across there. I'll drop another one through here. Get my hands in here. Most people just set these on here and figure they ain't gonna go anywhere, but I really don't want it to go anywhere, so. Alright. That couldn't go anywhere if it wanted. That's a little loose. Let's tighten it up a little more. Alright. Good to go. Alright. So, what's next? Locking nut for the wheel bearings. So, you got this tabs in here. You need to take your screwdriver, give her a little tap. You're going to bend this thing up out of the way. There should be another one right here. Alright, so we got that bent around. Normally these things aren't that tight, but taking off the other side, I realized they were pretty tight. So we're going to pop this free, get your wrench on there, push her in nice good. You don't want to strip these guys. Boom. There's free. Now it'll thread right off like nothing. So there's first nut. And it goes on just like that. So we're going to take it, we're going to set it straight down on the towel. Then we got this thing. Comes right at, so we'll turn it and set it right down on the nut. Then we got your second nut in here. Oh. Sure it's in there nice and tight. Cause, I mean, these nuts are only 1/4 inch thick. Ain't much there. Ain't like big fat nuts. So you want to make sure you're in nice and tight. Push on that sucker. You don't want to stripping it out. And then pop her free like that. Alright. And you got stuck on it. You want to make sure you get it free before you get that nut off. Otherwise your nut will be stuck in there. Yeah, don't forget, this guy right here is a 2 1/16, which it was a 2 1/8, I think. So I done fixed it. Alright, so that's screwed on like that. So I want to turn it and go straight down. I'm going to screw up here. Alright, so I took a little cut-off wheel and I cut it in every one of these grooves. And I took a hammer and I smacked each one until they came together. Kept fitting it till it fit just right. And then I weld a little bead on each of those cuts, ground it all up, painted it. Done deal. If your socket don't fit, that's how you fix it. So, and make sure it's a wheel bearing thin wall. You see how this is thinner than out here on these? I don't know if you can see that, but this ridges stick out further. So if these ridges don't stick out further and it's solid all the way through, it won't fit back in the hole there. So you want to make sure that you get the right one. All right. So we got both the nuts off. And then, you know, I'm just going to leave that wheel bearing and sleeve right in there. Man, what's holding that thing in? I guess we'll take this off. Go right down with that. pull this bearing out. Alright, bearing go right on top of there. Ah, what in good grief is holding that thing? Ah, wow. Well, seal didn't pop out. See how this works here. So there's the bearing and the race, and then there is this sleeve about 1.25 inches long, you know, that big around, that long metal sleeve that the bearing pushes up against. You can see it right there in between the grease. You see the shiny spot there? That's where that sleeve's pushing up against. So if that sleeve's perfect, then you can't really over torque your wheel bearings. That's a little different. And check this out. There's this little tiny spacer on top of the sleeve right there that you got to get just right. So we're going to drop this bearing back in there and drop that back in there, and then these guys go in there just like that, and that way you have this guy all put how it goes, so you're not messing it up later on. Alright, so we got that on. Now this right here is called your dust cap. This keeps all the dust and rocks and debris and everything out of your rotors. Now we spin them off. We're getting her close. She's almost broke down. I mean, must be some kind of black. And it's pure black. I mean, it looks like black silicone, but it's still wet. It's not dry. So there's no way it could be silicone. But why did that thing feel like it was stuck on there so hard? Kind of a weird thing, huh? Alright, now we got this guy. And they're normally stuck on there a little. Oh, popped right off. You see all that rust? You think it's going to be stuck worse? So, pull that out. Yank this axle out of here. We're done. Boom! Little short shaft. Now, you see this guy right here, this plastic thing? I think I got to put that on my, what are they called? RCV axles. I always call them RVC or RCV. I'll get her down eventually. I put the sticker right there on my rig. I'll see it every day. I'll be saying it right. But, long as this set here is the same to this, and this ain't no longer than this on that, then this will go on there. So I just got to lay it down and figure it all out, but can't be that hard. Ain't rocket science. All right, so set that aside, and heck, I guess next we'll get the diff cover off, and wonder if I'm gonna have to pull this steering arm here. That's pretty close to that cover. You know, I'm gonna play heck pulling that third membrane out, getting that cover on and everything if I don't pull that. So we're gonna pull that. Well, need to get this steering arm out of the way, and so it's gonna be a pain to pull that, do all that out in the way. So I loosened this nut, pulled the cotter pin, and we're gonna leave it on here loose so it don't drop down too far. And I've always beat the crap out of it, you know, with the hammer or use a puller, but I got an air gun and they got a little hole up here. Let's try it. That worked pretty good. All right. I'll put the nut back on here so I don't lose it. Is that going to come up out of the way far enough? Just barely. Alright, what are we going to hang this off of? This is pretty high. Start with that. Alright, there we be. So I got all the bolts out of this, but she's glued on, I'm sure, pretty good here. So we'll start working her off. Get yourself a putty knife. Nice sharp one, and run around the edge. Don't get in there too deep. You want to start hitting your gears and everything. Oh, she's tight. All right, we'll run her up this way. Hit something hard there, it'll come out a little. Alright, ran up that way till we hit that. Get back in here somewhere. Okay, there we be. We'll run her up this way. Should pop off about now. Well, we got her fingers behind her, so she's gonna come. All right. Now I don't know what's up with that silicone job, but I guess it wasn't leaking. Well, look at this. All the silicone is inside the lip all the way around. So, and this flat surface out here, where I normally put it, there's nice and clean. Now they just put a bead around the very inside lip, and you can see it didn't even smash down. It's still perfect round like it came out of the gun. I can't believe that didn't leak. Huh? Well, Mahindra, you need to learn how to put caulking on, but I guess it doesn't leak, so they obviously know what they're doing. All right, well. All right, I gotta get something to lay these bearing caps on. All right, you're gonna have a right and a left bearing cap. Now, the roxors here has on the bottom, it's gonna have an R, so that's your right. And on the bottom of the left, it's gonna have an L, that's your left. And you just put them on the bottom, so don't need to mark them. Most of the time, you need to stamp them. Put a little stamp up here and a stamp on the housing. Make sure you're getting them back in the right spots. But not with them marked out like that, you're good to go. Alright, so that is our right. I don't know if you can see that or not on there. You might be able to see the R. Oh, right side. The R goes on the bottom. And I got to clean this housing all up, but I'll do it after the third member's out. All right. There's the left one. We're going to clean up a little oil here. Make sure it ain't running all over us. But good to go. All right. Now, with the rear end, supposed to put a spreader on here. Spread it open a little bit. But I don't know if you're supposed to do that on the front end. So, and this U-bolt is right in the way of that hole. So I'd have to pull that U-bolt out. And I don't think I'd get the spreader on there, to tell you the truth. Leaf spring's in the way. I'd have to pull the whole front end out, take the leaf spring off. So we're not using that spreader. We're gonna pry this sucker out of there. So all right, I had to check time too. Have to pick my boy up from practice. What is he doing now? He ain't doing football right now. He's doing track. First year he ever did track. He busted his hand, screwed up his shoulder, so he couldn't play last year football. Had to quit for only a few games in. So he went out for track this year. We'll see how that goes for him. Well, she's tight, I can tell you that much. She ain't bud. Oh, she's moving. She's moving. There she be. Look at that. Huh? Nope, she ain't moving no more. She's gonna need a little more prying here. We don't want to drop her on the floor. Alright, well that ain't working. That ain't gonna work. What are we gonna pry off of? This bolt? Nope. This bearing? Oh yeah, there we be. Oh, this bearing. There we be. Now get your hands on your caps. Make sure they don't fall. Boom, there you go. You got it in your hands. But these caps right here, these will fall off. So, hold on. I'll get up to the workbench. I'll explain it to you. Alright, well, we're back working on the roxor here. So we went ahead and took off the ring gear, put it on this guy. Now, you got to remember, this is all left-hand thread. So, lefty tighty, righty loosey, exact opposite. So don't get on here and try to break your bolts free, big breaker bar, you know, and snap them right off. So you want to make sure you do it the right way. And that's just with the factory carrier. Like my rear end, I bent the pinion, so I had to put a new ring and pinion in it. And yeah, it's normal, righty tighty, lefty loosey. But front end, I haven't broke it yet, so the ring and pinion is exact opposite, left hand threads. So we got all this torqued back down. I've used plenty of Loctite, and you know, the rear end they're calling for 85 pounds, and the front end they're calling for 66. They look identical. I don't know what the difference is. So I torqued them to 70 pounds. A little tighter ain't gonna hurt anything. Covered them with the red Loctite. They should be good to go. But so I'm gonna have to pop these bearings off. I wasn't thinking I was gonna have to, since I'm putting new bearings on here. But these shims, I need those shims out of there. They ain't gonna fit on this new one, but I need to measure them and see how many shims I need. So gotta have them off. And then the inner axle seals. Oh, this is a metal cup piece, and this is a seal. I'll show you here. So this, what you're looking at when you look up inside your diff, you're looking at this, and this guy sits back behind it like that, up inside your diff. We'll go show you what I'm talking about here. All right, get down here. All right, so this guy goes up in there somehow. Pound that in basically. Goes all the way up into that. And then this guy, with his spring out, you pound that in, and voila. So, pretty basic, not that big a deal. Getting it out is a little tricky. So, show you here what I had to do. I had to take my jack handle. So there's a bolt down here. Pulled that, so I got this long piece, just barely long enough for the long side. And then I took this 1 1/16, slid over the one end, and taped it on there, so when I was hitting with the hammer, I didn't smash up the end of that. And then I took this 36 millimeter here and slid over the other end, and this end right here was this size of this. So basically right there. So I'm all the way up inside that tube smacking that. So you take this thing and the other thing and your jack handle, and you shove this up in there all the way till you hit that thing, and it was only sticking out about this far. And then you hit with a hammer about 10 times hard as you can. Boom! Blows out the other side. Easy as that. So that's the trick for that. I didn't bother showing anyone. So, but, well, we'll get you most of the information here. We're trying to get it all, but there's a lot of information. I tell you what, working on a roxor, you ain't got barely anyone to ask any questions. You go down to Napa and you're like, yeah, I need a part. Don't even bother saying roxor. Just tell me you're working on Dana 44 and, you need something. So, all right, now, this is the next gig right here. Get the camera where it's pointing here. All right, now, we got this guy. This guy right here. It'll come off here. But that's your dust shield. That goes up against the axle there, keeps all the dirt and debris, everything out of there. Well, it don't fit on this other axle. It barely go on that. You're not getting it over this part. That's even bigger. So that don't work. So we had to abandon that. Now we're on to this guy. So we got some axle seals, outers here. At least I think they're outers. They fit the outside, so sounds right. For I'm guessing Dana 44. So now these just barely slip over this. A little lube on there. I ain't showing you what I'm doing. So I just barely got it over that. Now it's going to come up and it's going to sit just over that cup like that. So that should keep, I don't know, I'm guessing 90% or so out of there. So that's the goal with that. So we got that. Then we have to replace our, run the other way. Alright, so we got to replace our axle seals. These guys right here. These are the new inner axle seals. That's what keeps your gear oil in your rig right there. I got another one around here somewhere. I don't know what I did with it, but we'll find that. No, it's probably sitting up in the housing. So the problem is, this was the seal that came out of the inner axle tube. And it goes over, and it rides right on that shiny spot right there. Yeah, perfect. These guys, I guess you could have jammed it on there, but it's the wrong size. Even though it looks like it would have worked, but whatever. They sent me new ones the right size, we'll put the right size on. So those are gone. Now we got to put these in. So we'll pound these back in the hole. So make sure, you know, that's inside there. And then with this open part out, we'll pop that in like that. And that's what we're looking at inside there. So then we go to slide the axle in. It goes in through that. And right on, it seals just like that. And then this is inside your third member right here. Perfect. Done deal. So we got all that figured out. Now, let's go show you what we did over here. So, alright, you gotta have a special press to put these in. So, I mean, it's not really a press, just a couple flat things with a bolt in the middle, and you screw it and it pushes the things out. So, I'll show you what I built here. Oh, I don't know if you can see any of this, but so let's see where we're looking here. There. Maybe that's a little too much. Hold on, let's re-angle you. There you be. So I went and got a couple parts out of all my different pullers. So this is my seal and race thing here. So I got me a bolt, put a washer on it, slide that through the hole like that, right? And then I got this guy here. This is out of my bearing braking kit. That goes in like that. So we'll put the seal up there, and we'll press that against the seal, and then pop it in like that, and then I'm going to spin this until this tightens up against the housing, and then I'll take a wrench and crank that bolt in. Alright, well, we're getting a little bit further here. I went ahead and pressed the bearings off the other ring gear. Didn't film it, forgot about that part, but we're showing you the aftermath. Alright, so this is, so you want to know how I set her up. You know, I clamped this around and set her in here, put a couple wrenches under it. I take me this socket that fits right on top, you know, here perfectly, and we press it right out. Pop. Pretty simple. And then we'll use this guy I made here to press on the new bearings. So we're getting her figured out little by little here. Alright, so now this next part is all mass stuff, you know, you got to do this somewhat, you know, a little more than I. So check it out. See what we got here. All right, so this came off the driver's side, and the driver's side shims, and passenger side shims. They measure up to 1.01, 0.83. So I figured out the same shims out of the shims they sent me here. So we got the 0.83 and the one right there. So now we just got to determine, are we going to put the same shims on each side of this carrier as the one we took off? Well, that's why we had to take them off the other carrier, so we can see what size of shims are in there. Now with the rear end, we end up putting almost all the shims on the opposite side of the ring gear. Now that is totally different than the front end. Rear and front, two different animals here. They're going to be a little bit different. And the rear has the aftermarket ring and pinion. The front has the stock ring and pinion, which are a little bit different. So not quite sure how. We'll see what happens. I'm still thinking about it. I'm either going to throw them on the way they were, or put a little bit on one side and try to push that ring gear away from that pinion, because it always seems to bind up. So, all right, well, we'll get to that and get back to you, and we'll let you know what we did. Well, we went ahead and we pressed the bearings and everything on the locker. Done forgot to record it all, but it went pretty good. So over here, we basically, we had the driver's side bearings, and then we had the passenger side bearings, and we're working with the stock ring gear. Well, we put them on the exact way they were, and it was too tight. So we actually swapped them. We took and put the driver's side on the passenger, and passenger on the driver's side. Perfect. And we got 5 thousandths, and they call from 5 to 10 thousandths on this, so that's all you need. And we're able to get it in and out without the press. And look at this guy here, huh? Looks perfect. All ready to go. So we'll get that cover on and see if it works. All right. Well, we got the front end all put back together, slid the axles in. We were about ready to throw the tires on, and we tried the locker and it didn't engage. We should have tried it sooner. But when I talked to Ox Locker, they told me the rear end, Mahindra was supposed to shave off so much off the end of the pinion because it hit if it wasn't aftermarket. And I said, well, I put aftermarket in it. And they said, oh, you're good. And then what about the front end? You're fine on the front end. Well, the front end's hitting. So we had to completely gut it all out, pull the pinion out. So we're further off now than I was when I woke up this morning. And I was out about 6 hours in, and we're going backtracking. So we're going to take this pinion here, and we're going to grind an 1/8 inch off the end of it. Now, is that right? I don't know. Well, what else am I supposed to do? So, I mean, we're guessing a minimum of a 1/16, but so you definitely want to keep that in mind. But you can see here, well, I don't know if you're going to be able to see. Maybe. But you see those little marks, those little shiny marks on that side? You can kind of see them. But they're only on this side. They're not on this side, because that's where the pinion was hitting. And you can see it's only not even a 30-second down in there. Let's see how good a close-up this does. Well, kind of gets blurry any closer. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. All right. guys. I'm just trying not to shoot the roxor. I think I'm getting actually pretty close.
About this guy. That'll help flatten it out.
Well, I thought about it, but we have to be really careful because that's going to make some real fine dust.
Yeah.
But no, I did think about that. We might end up using that. Oh. Yeah, that's quite the bummer, having to put your whole front end together and then rip the whole thing back apart. I sure do so far. I really like ox lockers, but this was a biggie right here. They should have said something about this, but I'll get over it, you know, as long as their product is good. So, get that pinion back in there. We'll be doing good. Oh. I think we're taking almost an 1/8 inch off of it. You know, I've worked on a lot of cars in my life. I have never had to shave a pinion down. Have you? Oh, this is something new right here.
Yeah, don't try this at home.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll get it back in. All right. Well, we took that pinion and we shaved almost an 1/8 inch off of it. So now, when we spin this over and we pull the collar over and spin it, it don't hit the pinion anymore. So, all good to go. So, now we just got to tighten it all up, put the cover back on, axles, wheel bearings. You know, shouldn't be that much. What? 30 minutes, we'll have this done. All right, we'll whip through this here. All right, almost done with this thing. So we worked on this thing for, I don't know, 12 hours today or something like that, 11 hours. All I gotta do is tie up my cable a little bit back here. Oh, shouldn't be that bad, but ox locker's in, working good. Oh, got the RVCs put in there. I need to get some kind of dust shield or something for that. Haven't figured that out yet. So I don't want my axles filling with dirt and water and everything, so I got to get something in there. So besides that, we're good to go. Oh, yeah, we had to grind that 1/8 of an inch off that end of that pinion and didn't hit no more. Seemed to be working fine, so should be good. Oh, all right. Well, y'all have a good one now.